Hello, I'm the Media Whiz, because one art form wasn't enough, and earlier this weekend I saw Ralph Breaks the Internet, and, it's okay. That's the best way I can describe it. It's okay. I know a lot of people really love it, and that's great, but me personally, I found it just okay. So let's break this down. So I enjoy the first Wreck-It Ralph for a fair amount. I don't think it's great. I think there's some stuff they could have done a little bit better. One of my main criticisms is that they probably could have focused a little bit more on like game jumping, but they really go into like 3 games whole movie. But it was a fine little flick. I walked out thinking it was good. I thought it was fine. And this is essentially the same. I think it's just okay. But as we talk a little bit more about it, I can hopefully get some points out there. Anyway, let's talk about the movie. All right, so, years since the first one have gone by. Ralph and Vanellope are still very good friends, but it seems like Vanellope wants more out of life. They're just spending every time they're just not in their games. They're just doing the same stuff together every night, going down to tappers and what have you, going to different games and and just having fun. But Vanellope seems like she wants more, and Ralph just wants to be a good friend to the point where it feels like he's trying a little too hard. Ends up part of the arcade cabinet for Sugar Rush. A part ends up breaking, that being the steering wheel. So it seems like the that cabinet is, along with Vanellope, is going to be just taken away. And so what they decide to do, because they recently got internet in the arcade, they decide, well, we'll browse the internet at this thing called eBay. Cue the Weird Al song. And they decide that they're going to get that steering wheel, which is $200, but of course, since it's eBay, it ends up being a bidding thing. And once they get in the internet, they end up bidding too much money. It's like even over $200. They bid like 2,000 or something, like something along those lines. It's wow. They try getting the steering wheel because they're like, well, that was easy, because they think it's just a game. And they bring up the obvious point of, yeah, you're going to have to pay for that with a credit card number and everything. And slowly we delve into the rabbit hole that is the internet. We start, we got spam, we've got clickbait, we get online games, which when I remember when they first announced the movie, they said that there was going to be more of that, and really we only get like one PC game, and it's a made-up game it's called Slaughter Race, which is a racing game mixed with Grand Theft Auto for kids. And then, a little bit later we delve into, viruses and all this kind of stuff, but we'll get to it as we go. When they go into Slaughter Race, they're sent to Slaughter Race through this guy called Spamly, who, he's basically a con artist. He's, peddling clickbait on the streets of the internet. And he's like, hey, I can give you this much money if you go into Slaughter Race and get the main character Shank's vehicle. And I found this out. Shank is voiced by Gal Gadot. And, yeah, this is a pretty cool character. They almost succeed with getting the car, but then they end up stopping them, and Shank and her crew are like, why are you doing this? They tell them why they're there and why they're doing it. Vanellope starts developing a kind of like, idol, looking up, you're my hero kind of mentality, which starts to make Ralph jealous, which fuels some of the, I was going to say external, more the internal conflict, for later in the film. And then, she's like, well, no, if you want to make money on the internet, what you can do is make a viral video. And this whole middle part of the movie is kind of where it started taking a bit of a dip for me. And maybe it's just because I'm just kind of bored, or more, I guess, jaded towards companies trying to be cool and hip with the teens and try to be down with, memes and internet culture and such. If you saw my commentary on the anti-smoking ads from Truth, where they tried putting memes and dubstep and, look, we got the impact font, that I thought was incredibly cringy. And while it's not as bad as like when Emoji Movie referenced the cat video of the cat going like this, and that Pineapple Pen song, while it was nowhere near as bad as that, it just kind of felt like, okay, this is what people, corporate types, think is cool, but really is just like the fluff that hits the YouTube recommended section. Like, cat videos they reference, but, you know, because they end up going to a character named Yes, who is supposed to be representing a video searching site's algorithm. Not YouTube. They show YouTube at one point, and they reference YouTube, but the website's called BuzzTube, which is like YouTube, except they accept hearts, like it's a Facebook thing. You put a heart emoji, that equals money. Kind of like how clicks and views equals money on YouTube. I'll say this, though, it's pretty realistic when it comes to, like, making money on YouTube. It's like, you know, even if you crack over 1 million views, you still come away with, like, what, $43 in your pocket? That was one of the few funny parts I actually laughed at during that whole internet segment. But I mean, like, and then, so Ralph's like, so what do I have to do? Well, you could just make more videos. Well, what do I make videos about? Just copy whatever's trending, which, let's face it, that's every up-and-coming YouTuber's mentality. But it's just like, and then, like, it feels like, I don't know if they were trying to, like, make fun of it. It felt more like they were just like, yes, this is the current stuff that people like, right? That's kind of the vibe I was getting from it. If they were making fun of it, then I applaud them. But the way it was going about it, especially if you find out that on Twitter they've been sharing these videos. And when I saw these videos on their Twitter, I was just like, okay, so is this just like some like executive who thought this was like a funny little, you know, meme to promote the movie? But no, then you see it in the movie, you're like, oh, that was part of the movie. They thought this was like really hip and cool with the internet. All right. And it's like, look, if they're parodying it, that's great, but at the same time, it just feels like, part of me feels like this wasn't supposed to be, like, ironic. I mean, a video of Ralph's head on a goat, that was just, the other stuff felt more like parody. It's like, okay, they're parodying, you know, unboxing videos and, what was the other one? Cooking videos and challenge videos and dancing videos, which at one point, Ralph does the floss dance. At least it wasn't the Fortnite default, which there's a Fortnite reference. That's another thing. That whole sequence had that mentality. That's what I was going to say. That whole sequence of let's parody, you know, stuff that's hip with the internet kind of had this, because when they first meet Yes, she has like this like wormy sidekick guy who's like, you know, going down her schedule, and it's like, you know, well, what's popular on BuzzTube? And it's like he holds up like a little like tablet and slides through. It's like, well, you see, what's hip is gameplay footage, which there's Fortnite gameplay if you look carefully. He says like a bunch of other stuff, like, you know, people getting hurt compilations, cat videos, blah 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 blah, and bee pun videos, and it shows like a cheap little animation of a bee doing a pun. That was either them making fun of crappy kid channels on YouTube, like the Johnny Yes Papa videos, or maybe I'm reaching with this one, but it would have been really funny if that was supposed to be a slam towards like B-movie videos. I don't know. I think it was more towards like those really crappy kid channels. But just because it had B, I was like, is that a B-movie video thing? But no, he's like, this video right here, this is the Fortnite of B-movie, of B-pun videos. I'm just like, oh, the fact they said Fortnite, I was like, oh. Like, that whole line kind of summarized the whole, like, that whole section is like, we know what's hip with the kids, Fortnite, and unboxings, and like... The only way he could have done it is like the only way to take it a step further is if they had like a parody of like late night shows, which those end up on the YouTube main page, which they kind of do, because at one point they show like, you know, this lady who's working on like, it's like, welcome to We Know Memes or WeKnowMemes.org or something like that, and she's like, you know, this retro video game character is making a comeback with these viral videos. And I'm just like, okay, so is that them trying to like, you know, is that supposed to be like a parody of like channels that I don't even know what that was supposed to be a play on. I feel I get what they were trying to do with it to an extent, but welcome to Behind the Meme, number 15, Burger King foot lettuce. I'm sorry, that's a thing. But anyway, yeah, so that whole internet section on the Disney sequence, yeah, it was funny in the trailer, kind of, and then seeing how they've shown it so many times, I'm just like, okay. I'm like, I've laughed really hard at that whole section when I saw people meme it. Like, I've seen people make memes of it where they compared it to Emperor's New Groove and Deadpool and stuff like that. That was really funny. But seeing it here, I was like, I saw this in the trailer a bunch. Like, it's one of those things where you see it in the trailer a bunch of times, and the first time you see it, it's amusing. And then, like, you see it in the movie, I was just like, you know, if they didn't show this, like, a majority of this scene, I would have thought it was, like, really funny. But I've seen it so many times. And I don't know, that whole Disney section felt like just a little bit like an advert, specifically since they actually use the actual Disney website. It was just like, okay, Disney, nice plug for yourself. Good job. You guys got money. Good job, Disney. It's like, look, we're Disney. We own Pixar. We own Marvel. We own Star Wars. It's like, great job, Disney. Gotta promote. Oh, and they even have the Let It Go remix playing during that, too. I was like, okay, great. Awesome. But and then when Vanellope talks to the princesses, they kind of, you know, they plant this idea in her head that, you know, there's got to be something more out of life you want. And she eventually realizes being in Slaughter Race was awesome. You know, we've been playing Sugar Rush for years, and I want to be in Slaughter Race because it's more exciting. And that segues into a song number. I was expecting to not like that song number, but you know what? They actually made it incredibly catchy. It's a Disney-style show tune, musical number, Broadway thing about what is essentially this movie's version of Grand Theft Auto. And it's awesome. It's actually a really good song. So, you know what? Movie props. You made that song legitimately good. That was actually a really good song. So Ralph is, you know, getting enough money through ad revenue, these viral videos. He gets enough money for them to buy the steering wheel, but of course Vanellope would rather spend time in Slaughter Race with Shank, and eventually Ralph ends up overhearing them and feels like she just doesn't want to be his friend anymore. So then Ralph, in a very dick move, decides to go back to Spamley, who then takes him to the dark side of the internet. And here we get, they go to this guy who looks like, I'm just gonna be honest, he looks like something out of a Psychic Pebbles cartoon. He's like this like humanoid slug thing with a growth on his like shoulder that's like his brother. And he's like, don't look at him. He's very sensitive about people staring. And he ends up hooking them up with an insecurity virus, a virus that copies people's insecurities or game characters, whatever, insecurities, and, you know, makes a virus out of it. It copies Vanellope's glitch, which she's very self-conscious about, and it makes her feel like she's going to break Slaughter Race, so she ends up leaving. She cries to Ralph. Ralph comes clean because he feels guilty. He's like, yeah, that was me. I did that. And she is rightfully upset. And this is when the movie started getting back on track. When it started getting away from like the whole, like, you know, we're hip with the internet. That's when I thought the movie was getting back on track for me. She's rightfully pissed off at him. He feels like really regretful for what he did. The virus ends up copying his insecurity in that he wants to just be he tries way too hard to be a good friend, and he is a little clingy and possessive. So it creates an army of like zombie Ralphs they're trying to like take Vanellope away. And then that's what ends up, they all morph into like this like giant King Kong Ralph, which breaks the internet. The title. It's like making people's internet connections go down and stuff in the real world. And then eventually Ralph has to come to grips with, you know, being a good friend means, you know, giving friends their space and letting them do what they want to do and not just always do the same things and hang out, you know, and do the same stuff all the time. And, you know, Vanellope realizes, you know, Ralph was only trying to do it, you know, it was wrong. I'm glad that they acknowledged that it was wrong, because it was, but you know, she realizes, you know, he was doing that, you know, all this like all that stupid stuff just to, you know, just because he wanted her to still be his friend. And oh yeah, and when they defeat all the Ralphs, Ralph goes falling, and then the Disney princesses show up again and save him. I was like, okay, I'm like they did something again in this movie. It reminds me of like, because people were showing me, they're like, dude, Sonic does something in this movie. And I'm like, he says a line. He did that in the first movie too. Okay. Sonic said something. Technically, he says two things. He says something at the beginning, and he says something near the end. During the movie's like epilogue, but I honestly, you know what I would have preferred, because I just thought of this. I would have preferred if, I mean, and Ralph basically learned his lesson at that point. You know, because all the zombie Ralphs end up getting deleted. And as he's falling, I would have thought it was cool, would have been cool if they had it that Shank comes and save him. Like, you know, she rolls in and, you know, like he might like crash the car, but she doesn't care, you know, and that's kind of like, you know, it's like, you rescued me after what a jerk I've been. She's like, it's okay. You know, your heart was in the right place. You know, you just did a bad thing. I feel like that kind of like, it would have been like that final thing to cement, like, you know, okay, you know, these two are on good terms. I feel like that probably could have been a decent thing, but they brought the Disney princesses back. It's like, yay, they did a thing. Okay. But I will say this though, and this is what I wanted to get to this. There's actually there are some funny jokes in this movie. They're all scattered throughout, and I feel like the stuff that really made me laugh was like smaller stuff with the dialogue. Like when they first meet, yes, Ralph says, you know, someone said that you're the Al Gore, and she's like, yeah, I'm the algorithm. I would usually hate a pun like that, but the fact that the movie actually got me to laugh at that, the movie did something right. And there's a part near the end where, like, you know, it shows that Ralph and Shank are now on good terms, and he trusts her enough to, you know, be a parental figure for Vanellope, because she basically leaves Sugar Rush to spend her time in there, and Ralph has to, the epilogue shows Ralph coping with the fact that, you know, she's not there to, you know, hang out with him 24/7 when the arcade's done. There's a part where he says like a really corny joke, and she's like, yeah, nice dad joke. I thought that was funny. Like, little dialogue like that. Oh, the lingerie joke. Like, it's when they first get to the internet, like they're looking through eBay, and Vanellope sees something that says lingerie. She's like, lingerie? Like, is that like pajamas or something? I don't know what that is. And then Ralph's like, we gotta get out of here. That stuff like that made me laugh. Another problem with the movie, like another minor problem I had, is it feels like the movie was a little too rewritten. Like, it feels like in one draft of the script, I can totally see them making, like, Yes the villain. Like, she probably is like, you know, oh, Ralph, I'm going to keep you here forever because, you know, you're bringing our BuzzTube, BuzzTube. You're bringing our BuzzTube website business, you know, with all these viral videos. You're staying here. Like, she becomes like, you know, this clingy manager type, you know, treats the person that she's representing, you know, as like, you know, more as a money machine than a person. I feel like they were going to do that, but they didn't do that. I feel like that was probably like what they were going for in like an original script they were doing. There's also a subplot involving Fix-It Felix and Jane Lynch's character from Hero's Duty, where they have to, because they temporarily shut down Sugar Rush, and all the characters, you know, the other 15 child racers in the game, they have to, like, you know, take care of them as like step parents. I feel like that was probably going to be like a B plot at some point, but then they decided to get rid of it. Because I could totally see them like probably wanting to do something with it, but it's really just like a gag at the beginning and end of the movie, which that was another part I thought was funny. It's like, you know, the like the TSA guy, I don't remember his name. He's the blue man who has the TSA outfit, and he's supposed to, you know, like, you know, manage everything. He's like, you know, how'd you take care of 15 children and make sure they're all well mannered? Well, you see, what we did was, and then the cars like race by, you know, and blurs all the dialogue out. Yeah, you see, and then what we did was again, and it's like, wow, I wish every parent in the world could hear that. That was actually funny. That got a laugh out of me. Like, there's funny stuff in this movie. The whole, There we go. But that stuff was funny in the movie. But the thing that, like, that whole internet section, just like, it really teetered on like, okay, it wasn't as bad as Emoji Movie, I'll say that much. like it wasn't nearly as bad as like that. Look, the pineapple pen and the funny cat video of yeah. It wasn't like that at all, but it got a little close in some of the parts. It's just like, you know, if they pushed it just a little bit further, I'm like, that's not funny. Stop doing that. But thankfully, it was nowhere near as bad as that. That was one of my complaints, is that it feels like the movie was a little too rewritten in certain areas, and that's really it. Some of the jokes weren't funny, and that whole middle section entirely. But the story itself, I thought, was fine. You know, even though there was like a couple weird inconsistencies. Like the one thing that really sticks out to me right now is like Ralph and Vanellope have to leave their games, which, okay, Sugar Rush is shut down, but Ralph, it's like Felix is like, oh, don't worry, Ralph will cover for you. How? He's the villain. The whole first movie was he was out of his game too long, and, you know, they were going to shut down his arcade cabinet. Like, that whole section was weird to me. But, again, like I said, the story overall I thought was fine, aside from, like, a few, like, weird inconsistencies like that, and some of the story elements feeling like they were, like, a little too rewritten in certain spots. And, again, that whole internet section thing. But, for the most part, I thought the movie was fine. Again, I didn't think it was a bad movie. I feel like this is a perfect family Saturday afternoon matinee. That's the best way I could put it. It's not a great movie, but it also wasn't a horribly painful movie to sit through. So I come down just going, it's okay, which is kind of how I felt about the first one. I still prefer the first one slightly more because it felt like it had a little bit more of a grasp versus this one where it feels like they're trying to get all these like different internet plugs in there. Like, you know, we're doing eBay and then we're doing PC gaming and we're doing all this different stuff. The first one was like simplistic to a little bit of a fault, but I mostly enjoyed it. Slightly more than this one, but again, I don't think Ralph Breaks the Internet is a terrible movie. I don't think it is. I think it's an average movie at best. So that's all I have to say about that. Before we talk about trailers, I'm going to talk about the audience really quick and some standout moments with the audience. When I got to the movie theater early, and the AMC that I'm at is now doing this thing where the pre-commercial trailers, or the pre-trailer commercials, there was no visuals. It was just a dark blank screen with audio playing, and I was like, is the projector broken or something? And like eventually, because I was like, the trailers are about to start, so I got up, I went out to the lobby to see if there was something wrong, and there was this lady who was doing the exact same thing, and I was like, yeah, is something wrong with the projector? And she's like, I was just about to ask that. I was like, yeah, because it's weird, right? And they were like, oh no, that's protocol, you know, as soon as the trailers kick on, the visuals, the camera, you know, everything's gonna be fine. I'm like, okay. And sure enough, thankfully that was the case. You know, there was nothing bad in that area. Because when we got to the trailers, you know, you could actually see them. So that was a plus. Let's see. This was funny. When I was sitting there, I find my seat when I first walk in, and then a whole flood of kids run in with their parents, and they came straight from a birthday party. There were kids that still had birthday hats on, and they were all hopped up on cake and ice cream. And it was like, and then the parents started before the movie started, like, you know, they started taking selfies and they started taking pictures of the kids, and I'm just like, okay, I moved just because it's like, okay, I don't want kids kicking my seat, and I also don't want, you know, I don't want to be ruining. I don't want to like talk over the movie and ruin it for the kids. I don't, especially if like I end up blurting out like, you know, oh man, this sucks. You don't want to say that in front of like really little kids. So I moved a little bit. And then what I thought was, oh God, two standout moments. When it got to the whole Disney sequence, there was a family behind me. Not only were the kids laughing, the parents were like chortling at that. Like, it's one of those laughs where it builds up. Like, during that whole Disney sequence, I could just hear the parents in the back go, oh, it was like they turned into Robert De Niro from Cape Fear. But I mean, they liked the scene. They thought it was really funny, so I give them credit. You know, they thought it was funny. Good for them. But the best thing though, that Fortnite, going back to that Fortnite reference, not only do they say Fortnite, and I went, oh no, but then a kid out loud in the theater just went, ha, Fortnite! And I was like, oh, I literally just made a sound like, eh. I was like, oh god. Not only was it a Fortnite reference, it was like the fact someone had to confirm it was a Fortnite reference. I was like, there you go. There you go. So there was that. That's really all I have to say about the audience. Other than that, the kids were mostly respectful. You know, there wasn't like a kid crying in the audience or anything like that. I just, that one standout moment of that kid, it's Fortnite! But, okay, yeah, so the audience, mostly respectful. You know, there was never a breakout moment. On to trailers. Here we go. So, trailers, I got like a solid half an hour of trailers. Missing Link, Zach Galifianakis plays the missing link between man and ape. And he's found by explorers, and they go to try and find his species. Looks like it could be fun. It looks charming. The animation is good, and the voice actors sound like they're doing a good job with it. So that could be funny. That could be charming. Looks like a better version of Smallfoot if it was made by the people that made Cubo. Let's see. So after that was Secret Life of Pets 2, which I like the first one a fair amount. So you know, hopefully this one's decent too. It is weird though, because this is the Chloe trailer, and then like at the end of it they're like, look forward to the Snowball trailer. I'm like, this trailer's advertising another trailer. Okay. After that, I was about to say Action Park, that's not right. Wonder Park, which is a Nickelodeon animated movie about a little girl who, when she was really little, she wanted to make an amusement park with all of her stuffed animals, and then now that she's older, she's gotten over that dream. She goes out to a forest, and then in that forest, all of her stuffed animals have become like actual talking animals, and the theme park is under attack by a bunch of adorable yet evil monkeys. This is the first time I saw this trailer, and I still don't know what to think of it. I'm just like, okay, that's a movie coming up. Okay, after that, A Dog's Way Home, which I've noticed there's like a large influx of these like movies that look like they're made for like really huge dog lovers. So, you know, if you're a dog person, you know, and you like these kind of movies, it looks like it's targeted for you. So I feel like you get a kick out of that. But I mean, like, considering we had Show Dogs earlier this year, it doesn't look nowhere near as bad as that. But I don't know, like, Show Dogs had another trailer in front of it that was a dog movie that was, like, similar. I don't remember what the name of it was, but, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's this weird influx of, like, dog lover movies coming up. So, there's that. After that was Detective Pikachu, which I've said this before in the last video, the commentary I did. I'm not even the world's biggest Pokemon nerd, but you know what? That looks a lot of fun. Ryan Reynolds is Pikachu, and the guy he's like interacting off of, they have like really good chemistry. Like that actually was a really funny trailer. So you know what? I'm looking forward to that one a good deal. So that looks like that could be a lot of fun. Let's see. After that, How to Train Your Dragon 3, which nothing to really say. That looks badass. The Dragons movies are usually like the best DreamWorks have done. So. That looks really kick-ass. Let's see. There was a couple of other ones. Oh, I remember what. Okay, I got not one but two Toy Story 4 teasers. Like, yeah, they show the first one of them like holding hands and skipping around, and it shows that the Spork is a character. I'm like, okay, because I already saw that teaser. I didn't see the other one. All I knew was that Key and Peele were in it. And then in between the two Toy Story 4 teasers was the live-action Dumbo. I'll just talk about the other Toy Story 4 teaser really quick, and then we'll talk about that one. The other one that has Key and Peele, that actually sold me just because they started doing the routine from the show, their old show on Comedy Central, where it was like, have you seen this movie? Here it's, have you seen Toy Story? Have you seen Toy Story? Yeah, they made 3 of them. They ended it with that one. Man, Toy Story's my jam. I was like, oh my God, they did the bit. Yes! And it was actually really funny. I'm like, you know, I'm looking forward to these characters in the next one. Hopefully Toy Story 4 is not just like a paycheck movie where it's like they just made it just to make money. Hopefully there's like a really good idea behind it, even though I really think it should have ended with Toy Story 3. We can only hope that this one's actually, like, it can't be worse than Cars 2. In no way. Hopefully it's like at least more engaging than Monsters University, which I thought was okay. But I mean, but Toy Story, you know, all the Toy Story sequels, Toy Story 2 and 3, and the first Toy Story are like easily some of Pixar's best work. So I'm hoping I hope that Toy Story 4 is at least on that level. And then lastly, we had live action Dumbo by Tim Burton. I'll give this one credit. It looks like it's not doing the same thing that his live action Alice in Wonderland movies were doing. Thankfully, it doesn't look like it's just Tim Burton trying to force like all of his Tim Burtonisms into Dumbo. With that said, it just looks like it'll be on par with like every other live action Disney remake that they've been doing for a while. Looks like about the same quality and the same kind of production and stuff. So we'll see. We'll see how that one goes. Yeah, that's all, and that's all the trailers I had. So final thoughts. Ralph Breaks the Internet. It's fine. I didn't love it, but I also didn't think it was a bad movie. I just was like, it's all right. It's passable. I thought there was some really good stuff in it, and then there's stuff that I just kind of thought bogged it down a little bit. Audience was pretty good, and I gotta admit, looking back, that it's Fortnite. As much as I groaned at that, it's funny in retrospect. And the trailers, I think the only one I'm like iffy on is the dog one. Looks like I'm not really gonna enjoy it because I'm not in that target audience. There's people that love those kind of movies, and good for them, they like it, but I'm not really in that category. And the other one that looks kind of in retrospect, looking back on it, was the amusement park one, the Wonder Park. We'll see. Well, like all the other ones look either like really good or look like they could be like I'm leaning more towards they look good, but there's other ones that I thought were way better, like Detective Pikachu, the second Toy Story 4 teaser, How to Train Your Dragon. Like those were the ones that I thought were really great, and then the other ones just look like that could be good. But yeah. So there you go. That's my video on my experience with Wreck-It Ralph 2. Next video I'm doing for MediaWiz is coming in December. I'm going to be collaborating with Red Ribbon Reviewers like I've been doing for the last few years. The first video is going to be on December 1st, and if you're curious what it is, it's going to be a review of the Monsters, Inc. ride, the one that replaced Superstar Limo, which I reviewed. And it was a bad ride, and we'll see how Monsters, Inc. replaced it. Hopefully it did it. I'm not even going to say hopefully. I know for a fact it's going to be way better than Superstar Limo. God, such a bad ride. But anyway, until then, I am the MediaWiz, because one art form wasn't enough, and I'll see you guys next time.